Hi guys, I'm Priyanshi and I'm a CA final student. I'm also currently working. So if you are a CA student, you will definitely have this question of how to manage your studies along with your articleship, because they're both a very challenging thing to do just individually speaking, and clubbing them together is just another whole thing. So that's why I thought of bringing some experts on this topic to the channel. So today I have with me CA Shubham Jhuria and CA Abhinav Sureka. Both of them are my seniors from my college and obviously senior to me when it comes to CA as well. They're both recently qualified. They qualified last year and both of them qualified in first attempt. And they have been great when it comes to managing articleship along with their studies, not just because they got their first attempt, but they also balance other things along with it. They've always been doing a lot of things and juggling a lot of things together, so I thought they would be the right people for this kind of interview. So in this video, I'm going to talk to Shubham and Abhinav about a lot of questions that CA students have during their articleship and how to prepare for CA final and all of these questions. So make sure you watch the video till the end. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe. So I did a quick poll with my friends and asked them to text me few questions that they always have when it comes to managing your studies with articleship. So these are some of the questions that they had and also I have as a CA final student. So the first question is when to start coaching and when is the ideal time to start coaching? What were your experiences with respect to that?
Honestly, there's no right time to start, but the wrong time to start is when you started in your third year of articleship. But don't also start in the first 6 months because you might end up just forgetting everything, and that's what happened to me. We started accounting classes in the first year of articleship, and by the time I approached finals, the syllabus changed and I forgot everything as well. So I had to just redo everything, and one day before the exam I realized the syllabus, what I was learning was wrong. So that was a little bit of a bad, it was a little bad scene, but yeah, I mean, towards the end of your first year is when you should start researching and when you should at least start your first class towards the end of the first year, and you should be done about 6 months before your exams start.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of do agree with Shubham over here as well. And in my honest opinion, in multiple organizations or my peers that I see around, everyone's extremely eager to start their classes. But starting anything before your first year kind of makes no sense at all, because whatever you start within your first year, you're bound to forget. It's humanly impossible to remember your classes that you did 2 years back. And all our coaching centers around here, at least luckily in our near vicinity, they've structured the coaching in such a manner that all your subjects are more or less completing within a year. So as soon as within your second year, I feel is your ideal time wherein you can start each and every subject and kind of finish each and every subject as well. And again, completely relating to what Shubham said, ideally, in the best case scenario, it's always better to finish each and every coaching before your study leave starts for your CA final.
I think what you guys said about forgetting what we have studied in our first year makes a lot of sense. But my question is the remaining 1.5 year period really enough for preparation, and what are your thoughts on that?
It can definitely be done in the 1.5 year span, but what you need to be ready to do is morning class and evening class. I mean, there are multiple times where I have done a morning class for one subject and then an evening class for one subject and then articleship in the middle. I agree it'll be very hectic. I agree you might not meet your friends for a long time, and suddenly the CA guys are your friends now, and they might not be that much fun to hang out with, but I mean, you just got to live with it. But yeah, I mean, it is very possible. Back-to-back classes is possible. Classes which stretch on for months is possible, and you need to be flexible with regards to which subjects you're doing when as well.
See, your second year is your hardest year in articleship, wherein you put an amazing amount of hours and effort, but it works out the best. And if you can really put in those hours and effort during your second year of articleship and finish it just in that 1.5 years, it's the idealistic scenario, and it is possible. It's not like there are various coaching centers, like for example, JK Shah that's there. I mean, they structure it in such a manner that you start at Jan or Feb and you end by next Jan or Feb. So it's not impossible. It is you have to just plan out and do your research a little bit in advance, and it is possible. It's not an impossible task.
This actually brings me to my next question, which is about office versus studies. So what I mean is that both I feel are very important in terms of your practical understanding when it comes to office and your theoretical knowledge when it comes to studying. And obviously to pass the exams, you definitely need to study. So how did you guys prioritize between the two, and what would be some of your advice?
See, honestly, I've done morning classes, evening classes, articleship, college, and even fest at the same time. So it's all about how you can prioritize your time and what is important at the moment. So obviously, if a tax season or an audit season is going on and the ending stages of it, you obviously can't go for morning and evening class at the same time, and you need to live with the fact that you will be bunking a few classes as well. But what you need is that one guy who's not bunking any classes, so that you can ensure that you are up to date with all the notes, you're up to date with all the recordings. Because I've seen multiple people asking their friends to, just record the entire session. They go back home. Whenever they get time, they just listen to it. I've heard of people listening to sessions in the metro, where I did not frankly do that. I used to just copy notes and hope that I remember whatever is there, and hope that the person's handwriting is fine enough for me to understand. But yeah, it's all about prioritization. You do have to be ready to bunk classes.
So just to add to what Shubham said, it's kind of almost like a quid pro quo, wherein you realize which bits of it can you bunk. Like some of the classes, it's not. I mean, I don't want to advocate this, but that it is the real fact that you are going to miss at least a good amount of classes. You are going to miss a few classes, but you can kind of play that aspect, and you can use that to your advantage, wherein you bunk a class which is not extremely important, and give that time to office. And when you've bunked a class, you make sure you tell office that, okay, listen, I've put aside my education for you, but there will be a time in the future wherein I will have to give education a higher preference than office hours. While I understand practical understanding and practical learning comes in office, but I need to theoretically also pass my exam. So if you play that kind of a balance with your office, wherein, see, again, like Shubham said, wherein you give your time to during your tax seasons or during your audit seasons, it's unrealistic to ask them, I want to go morning or evening classes. But let's say where I worked, December was an extremely lean period, and I knew for a fact that December was an extremely lean period. So I would obviously tell those guys during December, January, February that, okay, guys, this is an extremely lean period. If you have some special assignment, please give it to someone else. We're a huge organization, but I'm not available at this point of time. I will have these classes going on. You've got to figure out your own rhythm. You've got to figure out your own plan and your own timetable. And somewhere you've got to be a little more rigid. They're going to try to bend you around and twist you. And office is going to you might end up even fighting with office, but it's fine. It all eventually falls into place if you push hard enough.
Thank you so much for sharing that, guys. I think it was really useful. So Abhinav, you actually answered my next question. My next question is that how do you say no to your team? I am fully aware that I'm going to get into trouble for this, but all my friends who are doing articleship ask me this question about how to say no to your managers or to your team when you have to study.
Now, see, that honestly depends from organization to organizations. As Abhinav has mentioned that he worked in a big one, whereas I worked in a mid-sized one, right? And there you have a very hands-on approach wherein you handle projects more directly and you have more control on the timelines and how you finish it. So there, I mean, the senior who you're working with or the manager who you're working with, they understand and they really know what your problem is. So they are going to be very open to a conversation. So I think, even as Abhinav said, even in a big organization, just have a conversation with them and say that, obviously you cannot have a conversation with a partner directly, because he'll have vested interest in it. Just have a conversation with your senior or your teammate or your manager per se, and just say, I have an important class going on. Let's say the teacher is teaching me derivatives today. I really need to go, because otherwise you won't understand derivatives if you miss a class and things like that. So, and the second option will be obviously, if no senior is there and you're at client's place, just leave.
It's true. It's serious. I mean, there are times wherein even when you're big four firms, your manager will think you're in your client place, but I'm in class sitting somewhere, and suddenly a manager calls and you cut the call and be like, okay, I'm with the manager of so and so account. I can't handle it. You can manipulate your way around and you can figure your things as well. It's okay. It's a little overhyped that you have to attend office hours. If you put your foot down, they do realize and they do understand, because they've gone through the process as well. So you just have to fight your way through it and you can get through it.
Thank you so much for sharing that, guys. So my next question is about managing time between self-study and coaching. So how should you go about self-study during the period of coaching, which is during your first 2.5 years of articleship or in the last 1.5 years of your articleship, and how should you manage that?
I'll be honest here. I mean, obviously, I'm not a ranker, but I was able to pass in my first attempt. But the only thing I would be, it's unrealistic, at least when I was working at a big four and I had classes in the morning, for me to come back and study. So what I made sure was at least, try to finish all my classes, have my notes bit ready before the 6 months of gap. And those 6 months of time frame that you get from any organization to study is genuinely enough. But yeah, those 6 months are a long stretch wherein you're putting an extreme amount of hard work and effort. But as if you can put in those hours and effort during those 6 months period of time, and you can put in those 12 hours, 14 hours, or whatever hours during those 6 months, you can do it. And I mean, we're there as examples to clearly show you that it works. But there are other rankers that I've interacted with and are friends with. They were able to kind of prioritize their life a lot better, or they were just more focused. And when I spoke to them, what they said is that no matter what, they at least try to put in an hour a day or an hour and a half a day. And during the weekends also, they were putting in those extra hours. So if you can do that, that's an added advantage. But my honest opinion, or what I really experienced, was that my self-study really started off in the last, I wrote in May. So it really started off from October onwards. So, and it works. It's just that you start your self-study from October onwards. Just keep, while you're doing your classes, just have all your notes and all your printouts and xeroxes that you need from classes in a good condition and everything up to date. That's about it.
So what is important over here is you have to actually define what classes are for and what the time alone at home is for when you're studying. So what the classes are for, understanding the concept and clearing all the possible doubts that you have. Right. So so going back to the old discussion, it is very important to attend all classes, and if you don't, it's very important again to make sure you get all the notes, and if you have any doubts when you get the notes, is to clear it from your friends, because this comes in very important, because when you're going home and studying, so in worst case scenarios, the class that you took in the end of your first year or the beginning of the second year, when you're going back and studying, you won't know jack shit, right? I mean, you won't remember anything from it. So it's going to be, so it all goes back to how well did you understand the concept, because after you've done the first read, you will realize, okay, fine, I've done this concept before, so it should take lesser amount of time. But for the subjects that you really feel are hard for you and you don't understand, for me, example, SFM was really tough for me. So I would prioritize SFM when it comes to what kind of hours I put in on each subject. Abhinav mentioned he got 6 months, right? So my company gave me only 3 months of leave. So I got a bit lucky when it comes to the election was going on, so it got extended by 3 weeks. And also because I was not scared to take leaves. So I ran on a backlog of, I think, minus 40 days of leave after the entire exams got over, because I frankly didn't care. I was all right with writing my exams and then serving the extra time period, rather than, just not taking leaves earlier and making sure that after my exam comes back, I just serve the 10-15 days and then, just leave the organization. So it's you can take leaves, fake a few sick leaves when you know your exams are approaching. Many organizations don't give the 6 months leave. Many organizations give the 3 months leave. And it is a trend, and your partners are aware of it, that you're falling randomly sick when your study leaves are approaching. So yeah, definitely. And a few subjects where the teachers are really good, they do, when you're going for physical classes, that is, they do have like a pop quiz kind of a thing the next day on the concepts that were covered the previous day, and that really helps a lot. Because if you don't remember it, someone else near you does, and then the entire concept just gets revised. And also one more thing that can probably help is reaching class 10 to 15 minutes early, and then just flipping through at least the subheadings or the concepts what was taught the earlier day, because that helps you understand the concept of the current day.
I think that makes a lot of sense. So you mentioned physical classes, right? So now because of COVID, most of us are having to take online classes, and most of my friends are taking classes via pen drive or Google Drive. So I know that you guys did not have that experience of online classes, but I'm sure you guys will have some tips about how they can improve their experience online and how they can enhance the whole thing.
So before we even talk about that, one thing which is very important throughout your entire CA student career is to have that one friend who you are studying along with, or who you feel studies at the same pace as you. so that you can either match each other or try to compete with each other or even solve each other's doubts at every step. And this becomes even more important when it comes to online classes. So online, there are two major drawbacks. One is that you have to create your own schedule rather than a physical class creating a schedule. Unless, of course, it's a live class, but we don't see that. So it's all pen drive classes usually. So the biggest challenge is you creating a schedule, you fixing down a time. And the second challenge is the clearance of doubts and understanding of concepts, right? If you haven't understood a concept, just rewinding and going back over it again and again and again will not help, right? But a different view or a different perspective on it will definitely help. And I think that's what's going to be important, is to have either one or two or three friends who are at the same pace and the same lines, taking the same classes, and you can frankly, discuss all topics, and you can frankly, even set schedules together. Like, just be like, we are all going to study from 4 to 6 and just all are going to look at online classes. So those few things will definitely help.
This brings me to my next question about crash courses. So should people do crash courses, and should they do it after they have learned the whole 3 months of coaching or 2 months of coaching of a subject, and then do the crash course little before the exam? So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, before even I address the crash courses bit, another important advice that I'd like to give is that stick to your concept more than addressing A book, B book, C book. It's more important to get the concept right rather than doing 100 books. Some might argue that okay, if I do 100 books, I might eventually get the concept, but that's not the case because with the CA syllabus, it's already extremely vast. There you will already have a pile of books all around you, and there's always an anxiety going on that okay, I have to finish book A, book B, book C of various subjects, and if you add to that anxiety, it doesn't really help, right? So it's just better to be a master of those respective book A of subject A rather than 100 books of subject A. And you will find a lot of people around you who will really be like, oh, I did this book, oh, I've done this book, and it's great. But trust me, it's fine. Whatever you've studied is also really good. These are established books and thoroughly gone through, and all the writers or the authors have done enough research while publishing any book. So just trust your concept rather than trying to do a million things, which is impossible. And even when it comes to crash courses, my only opinion is that I don't think you'll get the time to really, focus around crash courses first with your articleship going on, then with your classes going on, and then your self-study going on. I don't know where you'll get the time to possibly fit in an additional bit of crash courses. And you also kind of want a social life or, to go out because you don't want to burn out either. So that's my only opinion, that don't try to rush in trying to do something fancy, or don't try to rush trying to cover, okay, I need to cover book A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. Just try to stick to the basics and get the concept right. That's more important than going out to crash courses. And I think, at least in my case, or I mean a lot of cases, just adding to Jhuria, having a good friend to study with or a focused group to study with is really important, because they allowed you to allowed you a very strict discipline wherein, if I skipped studying today, I would call up friend A and be like, okay, bro, how much did you finish? And he'd give his long list of things that you'd finish, and you'd automatically panic and study as well. So having a focused group is really important. And also having that group to solve your doubts is also really important, rather than attending crash course A and you might get muddled up in the concept. So that's my thought around it.
So crash courses are, in my opinion, honestly, like a waste of time and a waste of money as well. Crash courses are usually very expensive, and they are always around the time of exams. Crash course, I feel like if you already attended the subjects class, then a crash course is just you trying to make yourself feel good about the number of classes you're attending, because you don't really need it. You're probably just scared, and you're going back and thinking about revising the concept. Even though you have all the practical knowledge and you've done articleship and things like that, CA largely is a memory-based exam. So it's all focused on memory, and you're not going to remember things if you go for crash courses. That the 3-4 days, and crash courses are again very tiring. They have 18 hours, 16 hours crash courses, and it just sucks the life out of you. Those 16 hours, out of that, you can spend 12 hours in the comfort of your house and just try and remembering and don't want to use the word, but mugging up concepts if you have to, if you don't understand them, rather than going to a crash course. Obviously, it's always recommended to understand the concept and then remember the various details of it, and then obviously practice a lot. But you go into a crash course and let's say spending 5 days, around 60, 70 hours, you're just losing 60 hours of practice. And a lot of times in the exam, you don't really get to think a lot. So it's most of the times just muscle memory. You see a question and you feel that, okay, this belongs to this particular chapter, and you just start jolting down things as how you've solved the sums for all those chapters, and things like accountancy and costing, which have just long answers and you don't have time. That muscle memory and is really going to help a lot. So instead of spending time on crash courses, I would really suggest just sitting down and practicing your sums and just answer question papers or whatever. But just practice is the key.
You both have shared a lot of advice and a lot of tips during this whole session. But I also have this one question that, what really made a difference in your preparation? What was that one thing, or what was those few things that made a big difference in your preparation and helped you clear in one attempt?
I mean, yeah, that is the last mile when it comes to studying for your CA finals is the worst mile and the most important mile as well. So obviously you're going to feel tired, you're going to feel bogged down, you're going to feel like you can't do it. Probably next attempt. And I mean, I had those similar thoughts. I mean, I thought I'm not going to finish my syllabus. I thought of, okay, fine, I'll just write group 2 and get it done with. But what is also very important is, again, as mentioned earlier, it's very important to have one or two people you talk to during the entire phase of your, during the entire studying phase. Because that's what I did. I mean, I spoke to Abhinav the entire time. Abhinav and I would get on call for like half an hour every day and just discuss various things, just clear doubts, just talk about how life will be, and talk about how we can get a beer right after these exams are over and things like that. So that really helps. I mean, I've spoken to Abhinav more than my family members during the entire studying phase. So much so that it was just beautiful to work to just. It's very important basically to talk to someone and make sure that you're discussing every problem. And the second most important thing to remember is you don't want to go through this again. So that was one of the biggest motivators for me, is that I don't want to read those shitty books again. It's a huge pile. The pile just keeps getting bigger every day. I made the mistake of buying those fancy ass question banks, summary books, and concepts by other authors, and because someone else suggested it to me. But all of them went for a waste. I bought them. I did not open a single page. The books are brand new. If you want to buy them, let me know. I still have them. So the books are still brand new. And what became useful at the end of the day was still my tuitions and my notes that I had made for myself. Summary notes, very important all the way around. Marking things which you don't know is the most important thing. Marking things which you have a problem with is very important, because that'll keep going on in your mind that I don't know this, I need to do it. I don't know this, I need to do it. A good friend and the motivation to not read those things again are going to be good for your studying phase.
I mean, Shubham's summarized it quite well, but just to add a few points, the factors that really made a difference in my exam or my attempt was the fact that it's extremely important to have a discipline. The discipline need not be, okay, I need to do 12 hours a day. Now, I didn't work around that concept that, okay, I have to do 12 hours a day, I have to do 14 hours a day. It's just the discipline that, okay, I have to finish this concept by, let's say, this time, and then working around my time. If I finished early, I finished early. That's my time off. I get to chill, I get to relax. But if I have to stretch the extra hour, I put in the extra hour and I make sure I finish that concept within that particular day. But you've also got to realize that the other extremely important factor, even before going to exam, or even while studying throughout this entire 6 months or the time frame that you get, is confidence. And it might sound ridiculous, but it's almost impossible to finish 100% of the syllabus one day before the exam when you go to the exam center. And it's just the confidence that you have, because if you go nervous, you're bound to forget, and you're bound to get even more anxious when you read a question. Like Shubham said, it's all about muscle memory, and your muscle memory is somewhat connected to your confidence. And as long as the moment you read it and your muscle memory clicks because you're confident, it tends to be right, and you go along with that muscle memory of yours. So being extremely confident even while studying. There will be days you will burn out. So it's okay. You take that a day or two rest, and then when you come back, you can be confident about yourself that okay, I've taken my 2 days off. I can stretch now for an extra couple of hours and still be within my timeline. So confidence is really important. And third and final, yeah, that one person that you have to connect with you, because your study phase or your entire phase that you're going through CA final, your study leave is extremely mentally exhausting, if not physically exhausting as well. So having just that one person to mentally cheer you up and take care of you and just to give you that support, and trust me, for some people it might turn out to be their parents, but in my case it turned out to be just talking to someone like Shubham or talking to my other peers around, and just figuring out your doubts, figuring out your timetables with them. It really calmed you down and brought down your anxiety. And even giving advice to even Shubham, when Shubham approached me saying, bro, I want to take only second group at a time, and you can speak it out with him and reason it out with him. That kind of helps you clear your thoughts, because there's a lot of negativity going around during your study leave. So having that one person to clear your mind out, solve your doubts, and also ensure you're stable is extremely important.
Thank you so much for sharing all of these tips, Abhinav and Shubham. It was really useful. And thank you so much for coming on the channel. I was really excited to do this video, and I'm so glad that we could finally do this. So I've added both Abhinav's and Shubham's LinkedIn profiles in the description below. So you guys can check it out to know more about them and more about where they're currently working, where were they working before. So guys, do share this video with all your CA friends, all of them who are doing articleship or who are about to start articleship. It would be something which would be really helpful for them, because both Shubham and Abhinav gave some great tips and some great advice which we can definitely incorporate towards our preparation. So thank you so much for watching.